Hello, students. We will be learning about narrative structure today. This is your writing workshop for 5th grade. Today is Friday, September 4th, 2020. The supplies you will need today are pencil, your writing journal, and a loose leaf piece of paper. Today's learning objective. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to develop drafts into a focused, structured, and coherent piece of writing by organizing with purposeful structure, including an introduction, transitions, and a conclusion. If you recall from last writing workshop, you reviewed the elements of narrative. Look closely at all of the elements in this anchor chart. The literary elements include characters, setting, plot, and theme. Some of you may know the nursery rhyme of Little Miss Muffet. As we read, I want you to think about the narrative elements and the main events in the story. Let's recite the poem together. Little Miss Muffet by Mother Goose. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. At this time, I need you to get your one blank piece of paper and fold it into fours as the video shows. Then unfold it so that you can write and draw on the piece of paper. Go ahead and pause the video now if you need to in order to do that. When you're finished folding your paper into quarters, come back. Now that you have your 4 pieces of paper, I would like for you to look at what I drew on my sheet of paper. There are 4 quadrants, and I drew Little Miss Muffet on the tuffet, the spider who came into the story, whenever Miss Muffet was surprised, and also whenever she ran away. You can go ahead and pause the video now, and I would like for you to draw each of those main events in the story. When you're finished, come back and press play. Okay, so now that you're finished with that, as you can see, I drew Miss Muffet on her tuffet in the first quadrant. She is the main character. She is sitting on a grassy tuffet. The grassy tuffet is the setting. Also, I drew a spider in quadrant 2. The spider causes trouble or conflict in the story. In quadrant 3, the spider sits down beside Miss Tuffet and she becomes frightened. I drew her frightened face, which is an event plot. This would be the climax. In quadrant 4, Miss Muffet runs away. Now, Look at this chart showing narrative structure. Narrative structure is also called the plot. It usually has 5 stages. I like to think of it like a pyramid. The exposition is any important background information about the setting and characters. The rising action is what happens in the story that leads to the climax. The climax is the turning point in the story. Next is the falling action. Those are the events that happen after the climax. And then, of course, there's always the resolution. That is the conclusion of the story. I'm going to make notations on my chart as I tell you about them. And I want you to mark the parts of the narrative structure on your paper as well. You can do the same exact thing on the chart, your chart at home. You can pause the video as needed. With the Miss Muffet story, we can see that in quadrant 1, Miss Muffet is sitting on the tuffet eating her curds and whey. This is the exposition. This is the important background information with settings and characters. In quadrant 2, we see the conflict and rising action whenever the spider comes into the story. That is the conflict of the main character. In quadrant 3, Miss Muffet gets scared. This is the climax, or the turning point in the story. Then in quadrant 4, this shows the falling action or resolution. This is where Miss Muffet, after being frightened in the climax, runs away and removes herself from the situation. Therefore, this is the falling action and the resolution. The basic narrative structure for all stories, no matter the length of the story, is the same as on this narrative structure pyramid that you see here. There is always an exposition, a rising action, a climax, a falling action, and a resolution. Now I want you to think about this information while you continue to work on your draft of your personal narrative. Keep in mind that you need all the parts of the narrative structure for your story to be complete. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson, and have a great day.